Dr. Chauhan, Lieutenant Bhargav ji, Major General Jaisingh ji, Mr. Prabhakar, Mr. Chaibar, members of the faculty, dear friends. I'm very happy to be here today amongst all of you to talk and share my views about the growth of telecom in our economy and share some of my views as to how I think this landscape is about to reshape itself. You've heard previous speakers talk about various aspects of the telecom sector. We heard about 3G, rural penetration, we heard about regulation, and of course we heard Dr. Chauhan's inspirational statement about making this country a true leader, and not just a leader in the IT sector, but a global leader. Well, first of all, let me first start off by saying that I fully share Dr. Chauhan's views that this country has the potential, the capacity, the ability, and the confidence to become a front-ranking country in the community of nations around the world. There is no doubt about that. What we need to do as a nation, and I'm not talking about what government should do, what civil society should do, what young people should do, what professionals should do, what NGOs should do. I think we must start thinking and talking as a nation, because all of our objectives ultimately are the same. I'm glad that the Institute is organizing a seminar which I think is very fruitful in many ways. It lets all of you share ideas, listen to speakers, discuss amongst yourselves, to see what the opportunities are there in front of you. You all know that we've crossed the landmark, well, psychological landmark of having more than 500 million mobile users in this country. The way I see it is that we have another 500 million people that we have to empower. And mobile communication technology and the sense of having communication gadgets in your hand is a true empowering tool. Because the mobile phone today is not just an instrument that we are using to make and receive phone calls. We started off with that 18 years ago, and we all know when the mobile phone was just initiated in the Indian economy, the call rates was 15, 18 rupees a minute. And I remember in those days people used to just give a missed call and then you would call back from a landline because it was so expensive to communicate on a mobile phone. Times have changed, the government has opened up the sector, there's been tremendous competition. I think that has led to the call rates now are between 25 and 30 paise a minute. I think that consumers have greatly benefited from this increased competition. I want to share my views on how I think all of you in this audience can play a greater role in this sector, in this economy, and ultimately in India's rebuilding of itself. I think there's a tremendous conversion happening. There was a time when the handsets were used to make phone calls and talk to other people, and we used the desktop or the laptop to surf the net and to do work. Now the handset is being used via 3G technology to do video conferencing, to talk to each other, to have live chat on handsets. And we are using the handset mobile to surf the net. And the desktop and the laptop are now being used to make phone calls and to talk to each other. So there is a tremendous conversion of the information communication technologies that is happening. As this happens, I think there is more opportunity for all of you to find new and dynamic ideas, to be more creative. There are more companies than ever before, there are more entrepreneurs than ever before, and there are more opportunities than ever before for all of you to participate in this ever-changing dynamic sector. And I'm happy to say that the last year and a half or 2 years, there has been sluggishness in the global economy, there has been recession in most Western countries, but despite all of that, I think India has maintained itself with a pretty healthy growth rate of about 7%. And I might add that the telecom sector and the IT sector has been a great catalyst for Indian economy to sustain that growth. What I think can happen in the future is there is a tremendous potential that still needs to be unlocked. And how we can do it is by collaborating with each other. We need the government to create policy framework, a regulatory mechanism where this growth can take place. And it is upon you people and the companies and the entrepreneurs and the spirit of innovation and creativity that can really unlock its potential. And in India then we can have the division that we've had in terms of the digital divide. Somebody was mentioning about tele-density. It's a fact. Tele-density is the number of telephone connections per 100 people. In Delhi, in Chennai, it's 120%, 140%. And in rural India, it's 19%. So there's a huge disparity. And that's where I think the growth potential lies. Just yesterday, I was in Arunachal Pradesh. The hunger and appetite for connectivity is phenomenal. Everybody, young and old, government and private, professionals, students, everybody wants to be connected. And I think it is imperative that we have a network of communication and information that really links the entire country. This infrastructure, this resource deployment should not be restricted only to large metropolitan cities. Therefore, I think the future of telecom revolution, as we've been witnessing for the last decade and a half, the future of it lies in tier 3, tier 4 cities, in small villages, 640,000 villages in this country. And I think a large portion of them are still waiting for reliable, cheap, well-connected communication technologies. It is the government's duty, I think, as well as the companies that operate in this country, to span out in all parts of India. Let every Indian feel a part of the telecom revolution. I think every Indian citizen has the right to belong to this changing environment and to make use of communication technologies. In India, we have been, I think, very open-minded in terms of being technology neutral. It has paid us to be technology neutral, whether it's CDMA, whether it's GSM. We've had a very open and transparent way of functioning. I think that has led to this tremendous growth that is happening in the telecom sector. Day before yesterday, I was in Assam, and we launched in the Northeast for the first time WiMAX services. Now, WiMAX is one of the leading technologies in the world. It basically is wireless broadband internet access. With one tower, 15-kilometer radius, everybody is able to access high-speed broadband internet. Again, you can do data download, you can do conferencing, you can use internet, you can actually even make phone calls. I think this is the kind of penetration, and we started off with a big push in rural areas, because that is where things like e-medicine, health, education, all of that is desperately needed in remote parts of our country, in the tribal parts of our country, in the rural parts of our country, in the northeast, in the Kashmir Valley. Areas are very spread out. And I think young people there are looking for opportunities. I think institutes like this, which are specifically focusing on training young boys and girls in this area, are really catering to the needs that are going to arise in the next 2 to 4 years. To my mind, India has been an IT superpower. It has been recalled as one. I mean, no less than the President of America is being challenged by the growth that India has made. I think it's a sense of pride that we should all feel that we are making a name for ourselves globally. And we are exporting our IT services worth $50 billion. Our domestic market is about $13 billion. But there is still so much growth that can take place in the IT sector. And I think the IT and telecom sector are very closely aligned. What we need to do, I think, is start focusing on the hardware side, on manufacturing side. So much of our telecom equipment, our handsets, our routers, most of our hardware is still being imported. I think there is no reason why in India we can't create an ecosystem in India to really leap into manufacturing, because India's 2/3 population is still dependent on farming and agriculture. And the contribution to GDP from agriculture is falling every year. It's about 17-18% now. So 2/3 of the country is working directly and indirectly on farmland and producing 18% of the economy of GDP. So we have to start shifting a large portion of this young population into the manufacturing side with skilled and semi-skilled workforce. So manufacturing in the IT sector, manufacturing in the telecom sector is something that the government is very, very serious about. Here I think we need to partner with all the major players, smaller players, SMEs, and there is no reason why we can't do it. I think we have 400,000 engineers that we produce every year. We have young people like you who can take advantage of the opportunity that is ahead of us and really start focusing on the manufacturing aspect in telecom and IT. What is also happening along with this big penetration of mobile services is that people are now finally being able to get inclusion in terms of financial services. There are countries where mobile banking has become a reality. The government is also seriously devising ways where mobile phone connections 200 million people don't have bank accounts. I think the mobile handset can really be a platform where financial services can be extended to all those people who are still cut off from financial services and are dependent on money lenders who are charging them 3% a month. There is no reason for people in India to suffer. So financial inclusion can also become a major objective of this telecom revolution that we have been able to create. I think universities with such as Amity, the kind of faculty that you have here, the kind of brainstorming, the discussion, the deliberations are very fruitful. Because what happens is this creates curiosity, this creates awareness, this creates learning, and we all learn from the best practices that we've seen or witnessed, and we learn from other people's mistakes. There are countries and industries globally in the telecom sector where we can take lessons from, but the Indian telecom sector is a mature sector, and what is needed now really, to my mind as a politician, as a policymaker, as a member of the government in this country, is to open up this sector for the people to be using it and to make use of the young talent that we have, such as you in this room, to be able to leverage this potential. And I think if we all work together, there is no doubt in my mind that this sector, the telecom sector, the IT sector combined, can really usher in a new growth era in the next 5 to 10 years. And this is a win-win situation because it's creating job opportunities but also creating empowering of people who thus far been excluded, whether it's communications, whether it's financial services. So I think it's a win-win situation. The IT sector is providing about 2.5 million jobs directly and about almost 8 million jobs indirectly. That's more than 1 crore people are being employed directly by the IT sector. Things are looking good. The economic indicators are pointing northward. I think in the next 3 to 6 months we will see increased hiring of big IT firms on campuses. This is good news for all of you. But I think we also have to keep reinventing ourselves. We can't let our services become commoditized because then there is replication and other countries, other companies around the world are then using up the cost leverage that we've had. We have to keep on doing R&D and innovating ourselves and providing niche services that are not available globally. That will keep India and its industry ahead of the curve at all times. So I hope that this seminar will have good, healthy discussions amongst yourselves and the other speakers that will be there today and tomorrow. I wish all of you much success in all your future endeavors, and I hope God keeps you ever smiling like you're smiling this morning. 2010 becomes a great year for all of you. I want to thank Dr. Chauhan for inviting me today and the Chancellor, Co-Vice Chancellor for having me this morning. It's always a great pleasure to meet all of you. I like going to campuses and meeting with young people because I think together, you and I, we have the greatest interest in making this country a special one because we have most of our lives ahead of us. So we have to make our families proud, our communities proud, our city, our state, our country proud. We're all Indians first. And we must think of this country. One last thought I want to share before I conclude. The big change that I've seen in the last 15 years or so is when you talk to a young Indian today, no matter whether he or she is from Chennai or Bombay or Agartala or Jammu or Chandigarh, any young person today, the amount of self-confidence that we have in our abilities, the amount of self-confidence we have in our country, I mean, our democracy is not perfect, our governments are not perfect, our society is not perfect, but we still have tremendous hope and confidence because we believe that the future belongs to us. We believe that the future of this country is bright. That self-confidence today is many times more than it was 20 years ago. People used to always say the Indians are very good, they are good IITians, they are good managers, they are good scientists, they can launch a rocket, but they can't give a good presentation. They used to say Indian people are very shy, they are very awkward, they are not able to present themselves, they don't speak flowery language, they don't have the confidence. That was perhaps 20 years ago. But today you look at any corporate office around the world, you see young people, young Indians talking with confidence about themselves, about their country, about their company. And that self-confidence, I think, is one of the biggest assets we have in India. So keep this confidence up with all the work with you. I have great hopes. I have great hopes from the telecom sector. I have great hopes from all of you in this room. I have great hopes from this university. And I hope we all can make our dream of making India a super power country very soon. I hope this dream will materialize very soon. I wish you all the best and may God bless you.